Subtle control is when they just assume that you're going to fall in line because that's the way it's always been for our family. Some people even try to control your life and your family from the dead. Now, you know your mama wouldn't want you to do that. Now, you know your granny, she wanted all of us to, they're dead. With all due respect, they're dead. They're not here anymore. They've lived their life. They've lived their path. And you still trying to control me through somebody that's dead? Now that's some control right there. How dare you? Now, you know your great wouldn't want you to do that. You know, I remember him saying the most miserable, just not fulfilled, not satisfied, just blah times in my life were when something or someone else was controlling it. You have blatant control and then you have subtle control. And since we're talking about family will control you both ways. Sometimes it's just blatant, it's right there in your face. There's blatant expectations, blatant things that are supposed to be done in this family because of our last name, right? But then it's the subtle control. That's the kind that you really have to watch out for. You know, those little remarks. You know, they have some online classes now. You what, 35 now, baby? If you want to get a degree, you can go back online. I saw an ad. Or when you plan on getting married, when you're having kids, y'all married, y'all been married for 5 years, when y'all got, you know, that's control. I'm trying to control your life so you can give me grandkids. I'm trying to control your life so that you can get a degree. And I'm gonna tell you why, you know, they do this. Or, hey, you know, you haven't been baptized, son. You 2023. I think I heard pastor say fourth Sunday, they having baptism service. So I can call them and, you know, just let me know. That's control. We all have our own path. We all have our own journey. And if you listen to part 1 and part 2, this is part 3, I've talked about these things. Some of the reasons why they do this is because of ego, pride, and they want it to look a certain way in the family. They want to be able to say, all my kids went to college. All my kids did this. All of my kids are doctors. Listen, if all the people in your family are chefs, Medea, aunts, uncles, cousins, everybody went to chef school. If you want to be a ballerina, go buy a tutu, sign up for the classes, and then invite all of us to the show. We'll be there. And this is important because we are living here today, no matter how old you are. And some of you are so unfulfilled and you don't realize how controlled you really are, even as an adult, even if you're not living in the household with them. And remember 40,000 years ago when we learned that no was a complete sentence, it's still the same today. No is still no. There comes a time in your life when you truly want to be at peace. And I don't even want to say you want to be happy. You know, that's a whole nother video. You truly want to be at peace. And you want to know that I am fulfilled, I'm satisfied, I'm content with where I'm at in life. You have to come out from under their control, out from under their spell, so to speak, and live the path and the journey that you were meant to live. And it's rooted in fear. We are afraid to say no. We are afraid to buck the system, especially if we are dependent upon them for money, for resources, for a place to stay. You have to get out of that. And I have videos on manifestation. If you want me to make another video on manifestation, I will. I moved to a whole other city last year. I moved from Houston to Dallas. 43 years old, 2 years here. That's it. That means the rest of my life was spent in my hometown, what I've been used to, where I had, you know, my roots. I moved to Dallas and it wasn't like I had $40 million to do so. I manifested it. It was $1,300 to move here. I manifested, made that happen because I needed to expand and just get out from under what I've always known, which was not fulfilling me. Let me tell you how controlled we are as people. When we're born, we have no choice in the name we're given, the city we're born in, the city we're raised in, or the country. We have no control over the religion or faith that we are raised in or the lack thereof. If we're raised as an atheist, we have no control over all those things. It just comes a point in our life where we decide, okay, I'm not fulfilled. I'm not happy. What's going on? I even legally had my first name changed. My first name is Dorian, Dorian. I am Dorian. But legally, I was born without an A in my name. And all my life, people called me Doreen, Doreen. And me and my mom talked about this, you know, years ago when I had it legally changed as an adult. And I said, Mom, that's not how you say Dorian. That's not how you pronounce it. And we, you know, go back and forth. She's like, no, that's Dorian. It's like, no, it's not. So I legally changed my name. And why is that important? Because I struggled with that all my life. Elementary, middle school, high school, college, even as an adult, correcting people. Like, and that can mess with your identity. Like, oh my God, people are calling you 5 different names. And once I changed my name and I added the A, you may not think so, and then when I got my last name back after the divorce, my life completely changed. Some of you don't even like your name. Change it. If you don't like the city that you're in, change it. If you don't like what you were raised in or how you were raised in, and I don't mean like don't like it just because you don't like it and you want to buck your parents just because you don't like them. I'm saying if you're not in alignment with it, if there's not a connection in the way that you were raised, that's a sign, that's your intuition telling you to change it because there's something specifically designed for you. There was a girl about 4 years ago. She came to me and she was like, Dorian, I love my church and I love my pastor because I don't do institutionalized church anymore. She's like, I love them and everything. I love my church. But on Saturday morning, they always want us to go to prayer, morning prayer. They want us to physically drive to the church. And she's like, I work a full-time job. I have kids. I have a husband. And I just feel so bad not going. And, he's going to rebuke us if we don't come. And so, I gave her a word. I gave her a deep spiritual word. It was just in the spirit. Don't go. Don't go. And that's what we have to do in our life because our family applies the same pressure. They put this guilt trip on you. Well, I was there for you when this happened. Well, I'm your mama. I'm your this. I'm your that. You understand what I'm saying? And when you was sick, I did this. And when you, okay. And so I told her, don't go. And if somebody's getting in the pulpit rebuking you, that's control. Rebuking you over something that you're choosing to do. Let me tell y'all something. This is so powerful. This came to me when I was getting ready to make this video. She's talking about, she doesn't want to go to the prayer service. It's not even a service. It's just you go there, you pray, you get on the altar, you pray, and then you go home, right? If you go to a nail shop, you go to a nail salon, they have a plethora of services. Do you have to get all of them? No, you can go in and choose a pedicure and a massage, a leg massage. Or you can say, I just want a manicure, or I just want color. I personally only get my feet done because they look like they've been in a construction site. I was born and raised in the country. We walked on rocks. So my feet need extra attention. I don't let them touch these. I have a choice of services. And as a church, I was married to a pastor for 7 years. I know how this goes. And I was in the church for over 25 years. There are services. You can go to 9 o'clock. You can go to the 11 o'clock service. You can use the childcare services. If you're an elderly person, you can go to the early morning service where we don't play the music as loud. I was a worship leader there. There's different things you can do. That's what it's supposed to be. Not a place of control where you can choose the services that you want. And so I told her, you have to choose what serves you. And when I go to the nail shop, it doesn't serve me for you to do my hands. It doesn't serve me for you to do gel and put long, that doesn't serve me. So if you're at a church, I was telling her, if it doesn't serve you to go on Saturday morning, then don't go. A lot of times they apply that pressure in the churches like that, like our family does, because it's an ego thing. Like I said earlier, it fuels their ego that I had a packed house. I used to be married to that. And when I was in that scene, even the person I was married to, I would overhear conversations with other preachers and other pastors. So how many were you running this week? Man, I had a packed house. We had like 700 people there. Man, how many did you have? I was running about 600. That's packed house for us. It's an ego thing. Not everybody, not every church. It's a prideful thing. And so they'll get up there and rebuke and say, you need to be in the house. And I heard one say, if you miss church again because you were at work, you're going to lose that job. God's going to take that job for you. What the hell? If it doesn't serve you to follow along with the expectations of your family, don't do it. And you are going to have to overcome your fears, your own insecurities, your own self-worth, and realize I can do this. If I have to move, I can do this. I did a video where I manifested a whole move to Dallas. I didn't get really specific, but I can if you want me to do that. And I manifested the money. I manifested the income. I manifested everything that I needed to move so that I could be free and start fresh and start new. A long time ago when I was a teacher at Kids Are Kids for 4-year-olds, there was a little boy and his name was Sunshine Red Rock. And his parents allowed him to name himself. They asked him, what do you want your name to be? And he had a twin sister. I think her name was Blue Mountain Riverstone. And we had to call these children these names. And I was cool with it. They were like really eclectic parents, hippie-like, and just really free flowing, right? And so that's a different story if you're raised in that type of household where your parents start you out early. But most of us, you're told what to do, when to do it, how to do it. This is who you are. This is who we are as a family, and you need to fall in line. But then when you choose not to do that, then something's wrong with you. Oh, she's the black sheep of the family. Oh, the devil got her. Just different things like that. Oh, she not really too. They put these labels on you, right? And try to put you in a box. And that's the problem right there. Putting me in a box. In part 2, when I said that you may not have drunks and abusers and really intense, toxic relationships and patterns in your family, but that control is just as deadly to me. That subtle control, because you're the eldest it's expected of you to do this because you're the youngest, because you're the boy, because you're the girl, because we're black, because we're Hispanic, because we're white, because we're this religion, because our last name is. That's just as dangerous as having outward manifestations of toxicity, as I listed before. That's just as dangerous. Being controlled. Or the sob stories. The sob stories can control you too. That's that subtle control. Well, all my other kids done moved away. I guess you're the only one that's here for me. Or if they're trying to get money out of you, I sure would love to go with y'all to go eat, but I'm low on funds, or I don't get paid till next week. If you don't have the money, just say so. Just ask. To me, it's just like, come out and say it. Just come out and ask. That manipulation and that passive aggressive stuff, that's control. I remember a couple years ago, a family member was trying to control me. And I wanted to do a certain thing, a certain way when my dad passed. And I made my decision, this is what we're going to do. And it was what was best for me to do it this way so that I can shut everything down, close out all his affairs and be done. And they were like, well, I found somebody that can do that for you and they'll be here in a week. But I had just said I wanted it done in 2 days, right? And so I figured it out. I found out who I wanted to do what in those 2 days so I can shut off everything and just be done, right? They came back and said, well, why are you going to have them do it? I can find you somebody to do it. Second time you've come to me and approached me about this. And I said, I found somebody. I need it done at, this time. That way I can go get the headstone, just knocking stuff out, right? Drove around the block. Third time, came right back to me and said, well, the person that I have, they said they can come on Thursday instead. I'm going to choose the people that I chose, and they're going to be here in 2 days. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. And I know that's the stuff that you deal with your parents. You have a plan, you know what you're going to do, and they're just constantly, why don't you do it this way? Well, what you should have did, well, what? And they think because you're younger that you don't know what's best for you. When I do believe in the book of Job, it says, don't let age speak. Age should not always speak because age does not always speak wisdom. That's what this page is about, living intuitively, living by your intuition and what works best for you. And if you had a personality like me and just this demeanor of being very introverted, quiet, a doormat, and just let everybody else run over you, because sometimes you didn't have security in yourself. You didn't feel like you knew enough. Maybe they do know more. Maybe they are smarter than me. You had your own inferior thoughts about yourself, and that was me. You look at me now, I'm totally different than who I was before. My first book is called Let's Talk It Out because I didn't know how to talk it out. I didn't know what to say to people, so I just let them make decisions for me. Even as an adult, even as a mother, it's like, okay. And I just always felt like I needed to ask other people, so what do you think? And what, instead of making my own decisions, and that got me in a lot of trouble. And it put me down certain paths for many years that I didn't need to be on because I didn't feel empowered within myself. I didn't feel like I was smart enough that I could do it because I didn't have a degree at that time and I didn't go to school. I didn't finish college. Yeah, and I did go back to college at 35 and I got a degree and I got a master's degree, but none of that matters either. It doesn't matter. I'm not even using that master's. But if you have that personality where you kind of shrink back because their personality is more dominant and empowering, and that's how it was with this family member. They are just known for being so. But I had to stand up for myself and say, no, it's going to be like this. No, it's going to be this way. And some of you are going to have to change who you are, not the core of who you are, but change how you operate with people and really become very bold and upright and say, hey, listen, this is what I'm doing. This is what I want. And they'll settle down. If they don't, then don't engage. For example, when I went into my divorce, I was scared and, shriveled up. I had never been to a court, never dealt with the police, never even got a ticket, none of that. The other party was used to the system. But anyway, I had never, ever faced anything like that. But by the end, a year and a half, I had been through so much and they were taking me through so much. I had found my voice, and that's how I ended up writing my book, Let's Talk It Out. At the end, my lawyer was like, hey, Dorian, calm down. I was like, no, they want to go before the judge. I was talking my noise out there in the hallway. You know what I'm saying? At first, I was, afraid. First, I was afraid. I was petrified. But then at the end, I had found my voice. And I said, you know what? I can do this. I don't have to let people run over me. I don't have to let people talk to me like this. I don't know. Just no. No, I'm serious. I would be shaking. I started having panic attacks at the beginning of the whole process. Just seeing an officer and just hearing, handcuffs and seeing the judge and things like that. By the end, I was like, oh, nah, they want to go. Let's go. Let me tell you, formulate your own thoughts and execute them. Figure out what you want, how you want things to be for your life, and move in that direction. Now to this day, I don't like being controlled. I can sense it when someone's trying to control me. I'm not talking about just disobeying the laws of the land. I'm not stopping at a stop sign. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when someone tries to control my life or what you ought to do or what you should do. Listen, trying to control somebody, that's not a good place for you to be. If you're trying to control someone, and I know most of the people that are watching this are not those people. You're the one that's probably being controlled. But when someone's trying to control you and tell you what you need to do, they really need to reflect on themselves. This is why I buck when anybody tries to control me, because I was controlled all of my life. We're talking about 40 something years through religion, culture, and tradition. 40 something years. And so now that I've gotten out of that, I've been on this journey for 7 years of just really cleansing myself and getting myself out of this. When I wrote my first book at 35, I said no more. I'm going to live where I want to live, receive income the way that I want to receive income, be with who I want to be with, be around who I want to be with. And if I don't like you, I won't be around you. If I don't like this, I don't want it in my life. That is how you have to become, and you can be that way. You know why? Because I used to be the opposite, and now this is what you get, right? This is who I am. Every aspect of my life, I'm in control of it. You know, alongside with my spiritual gang. But I'm saying everything that I'm doing, if I'm not happy in the marriage, I'm out. And that's what I did. I filed for divorce. And the church came against me, said I was into witchcraft, said that a spell was on me, just so many things. But I'm happy and I'm at peace, right? That's all that matters. And you can only have this type of job, and you can only work here, and you can only do this because of where you come from. Boo. No, I decide. That's why I'm fulfilled now. That's why I'm satisfied and I'm at peace. Some of us don't even realize how much of a puppet we've been all of our lives and how someone else has been pulling the strings, even as adults. I understand as a teenager, you don't have control over a lot, especially if you're dependent upon a parent, and we can talk about that. I could do a whole other video on that. But as an adult, someone else is still pulling the strings in your life. You're still someone else's puppet. And I know what that feels like. That's how I was. Some of you are married to someone because the family said that's the best thing for you. I was married that way because the church said, you better hurry up and get married before you fall into sexual sin. Even though we didn't love each other, we barely knew each other, but it was good for church, for the kingdom, for ministry. And it was 7 years of hell. Some of you are working on a job right now because the family said this is the best thing for us. It's the best thing for you. Some of you went down career paths, and some of you went to college because family said. Some of you are in industries because family said. Some of you are living certain places because that's where family lives, and that's where family said. That's where everybody grew up. That's what all the Washingtons do. All the Jacksons do that. All the Smiths do this. That's just what we do. And sometimes they'll just subtly ask you questions like, so when are you going to go ahead and get ordained? And because we don't want to rock the boat, we're just like, well, I haven't got around to it yet. So when are you going to apply for this? And when are you going to, all of that. So you mean to tell me I'm married to somebody that I don't even like, and it's been 10 years only because the church or my family said this was the best thing to do? So you mean to tell me I've been in this career field all my life and I really want to be a tennis player? So you mean to tell me that I had kids and I didn't even want kids because my mom and dad wanted me to have kids? Are you serious? And this is your story. This type of control works on people that have a docile type personality. And that's how I used to be. Now it works for the opposite as well. If you're very loud and, extroverted and your family is not like that, then they're embarrassed by you. They're like, bring it down. We're about to go into this place, or we're about to go here. We're about to do this. And they want you to bring it down. It's like you don't have any freedom to be who you truly are. You got to get away from those type of people, even if they're blood. Here's an important question. Who's going to die if you choose to do things your way and live the life that you want to live? Who's really going to lose their whole soul if you choose a different path, the one that's more aligned with your soul? And if they do die, they're going to die anyway. What I'm saying is it's not really that important what someone else thinks or wants you to do. Bottom line, it comes down to you releasing the fear, becoming brave, and believing in yourself and your manifestation powers and abilities to create the life that you want to live. You can do it. I'm telling you, I did it. I did it just a few years ago, and I've been doing it all of my life, is manifesting things, creating things. Even when I was under their spell and under the control of religion and family tradition, things like that, I still was a master manifester. I still was bringing things to life and creating things. And now much more that I'm free and I can do it in a more aligned way. And when family is starting to ask you to do things and they want you to be something, it's no. If you don't want to take somebody somewhere, like, hey, can you pick me up and, and drive me here and do this? And you're like, oh, I really don't want to do this. What time you want me? All that is a no. All that energy and the talking to yourself and the breathing, that means no. No. It just does. And you're like, okay, but what? You're the one that's miserable. You're the one that's uncomfortable. You're the one that's not happy. You're the one that's bringing in that energy of, ugh. And that's going to trickle into every other area in your life, your finances, your relationships, because you are allowing people to control you. They will find another ride. That has happened to me so many times. If I'm like, no, then the next day, oh, girl, I didn't even go. I didn't even want to go. I was just going to, or this happened, or this, that, and that. And you were able to do what you needed to do. You were able to live the life that you want to live that day. And when you say no, you don't have to put a justification behind it. That's control. When you're like, no, I'm not going to be able to do it, girl. They had me working overtime over. That's control. That's fear. Because you don't want them to look at you a certain way if you just say no. No. Now, if you want to say, no, I can't because I have to pick up my son. Can you help me write out my business plan? The 5th one that I've helped you write, even though, no, I cannot. You can sign up for one of my sessions, my business sessions on my page, and sure, I'll do it. You can pay for it this time. That's a whole nother video. Family trying to get stuff for free. That justifying and trying to explain and all that, girl, yeah. And then you hang up the phone, you don't even feel like that. You have all the energy in the world, but on the phone, you're like, no, I'm not going to be able to do it on Saturday because, girl, they got me doing this. And then, my daughter got me. No, you just don't want to do it. And you're going to be laying in the bed the whole day, just lying. Like I said, with religious leaders, they do this all the time. They apply that same pressure that family does. Try to make you feel some kind of way because you're not showing up. You didn't want to come to the family event. She don't come to none of the things. She don't come to this. Control. They don't show up for service and here they are in the pulpit, banging you over the head. Y'all aren't giving like you're supposed to. Actually, they are. If they didn't give, the Bible does say in the New Testament, give according to your heart's desire. You know what I'm saying? So actually they are. They just didn't have a desire to give that day. It's their fears, their ego that the bills are not going to get paid. So then they put that and project it on you. Hold up the video. Well, why you didn't come to the... I just didn't. I had something else to do. Well, why you didn't... Why are you in my business? Especially if I'm grown. My students used to ask me that, Miss, why you do this and why this? Because when I woke up this morning, I was grown. That's why I did it. Why you wear that today, Miss Watson? Because when I woke up this morning, I was grown. That's why. And just like they try to use the fear of God to apply pressure, your family does the same thing. They try to apply guilt and what they used to do for you and who they are. And we're your family. We're your family. Just because they had you and gave birth to you does not give them the right to run your life. Ooh, that's deep right there, right? Just because they gave birth to you and raised you and took care of you, which was their responsibility and duty, as an adult, they do not have the right to control you or your life or how you raise your kids. If you have that family that's like, all my kids, are doing this, you're probably that one, the one that's watching. You're probably that one that doesn't fit or fold into the mold of whatever your family's last name is, of what the tradition is for your family. You're that one. And what they have to understand is that's their dream, to have the patriarch and the matriarch. And then we have the kids and we have the grandkids and we have the great grandkids. That's great. And that's their vision. But who's to say that's right? Who's to say that's what it was supposed to be originally? Who's to say that that's the divine plan? That you have to have the matriarch, the patriarch, this, that. If you have it and it's working for you and it's solid and it's whole for you, then great. But there are some of us that are just called and we're just set apart and we have a different journey and a different path to create our own families and to create our own realities and what we define as family. And that's how it is with those leaders. They have a vision to have a packed house and they have this idea that everybody's going to come to my ministry and everybody's going to fill the seats and it's going to be this, that, and that. That doesn't mean that everybody fits into that. That doesn't mean that that's what it's supposed to be or how it's supposed to be. If you have that vision, whoever comes is going to come. Whoever's going to be there is going to be there. It's the control. It's the control. I'm your shepherd. I'm your leader. You're my sheep. And you're not even allowed to go to somebody else's church and feed, as they say, from another shepherd. And I'm mentioning that because that's what I came from. Family, tradition, culture, that ran my life up into my late 30s. That's a long time. And I'm only 42. When I decided to get a divorce and stand up against the church and get a divorce, that's when I really started to shift. And that was in 2009, 2010. That's when I really started to, say, okay, you know what? I need to take control of my life here. Your family members were vehicles to get you here. Your parents, they were just vehicles. The sperm and, the egg and all that, a vehicle to get you here. But that does not mean that you're obligated to follow their blueprint for your life. They may have been vehicles to create your physical body, but they did not create the essence of who you are and how powerful you are and what you're meant to do in this realm, in this lifetime. I want to encourage you and inspire you that wherever you are in life, married, not married, with kids, no kids, you like your job, you don't like your job, you're just in some stuff because of family, you can get out of it. You can change it. You can manifest a new reality. If you're watching this video and you're hearing this message, it's supposed to be resonating with you that I can do this. I'm just a human being and I did it for myself. My life looks totally different from what it looked like before because I chose to get out of it, come out from up under it. And I had to work it. I had to work my manifestation powers and create income and create my living space and where I'm going to stay, how I'm going to get all my stuff in one big truck and move it here. Who's going to drive that big bad boy? I know I couldn't. I had to drive my own car. My daughter had her car. Who's going to drive that 26-foot truck? I manifested that. And at the end on each video, I'll start telling you what my 2 books are about in case you choose to buy them. I talk about how I manifested my album, how I manifested this book, and the things that I manifested inside of the book. I talk about so much in both of my books. I talk about making things happen, how I made this album happen in 6 months, and how I manifested. And I was not a millionaire when I had these books. It's not like I just had the money sitting there, but I created it. And you can create the life that you want to live. All you have to do is believe that you can do it. And then you see somebody else that did it. I did it, so you can do it too. So I always say alignment, but one viewer also said on the other video, just because you are family members doesn't mean that there's a connection. And that's a beautiful thing. And once you find your soul purpose, and once you find that that grit that says, you know what, I can create my reality, then you'll find your true connection.